apologies there, and God bless everyone.
The Four Leaf Clover podcast is sponsored by Planet Celtic.
Good evening, Patrick. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, Scott. How's yourself? Hopefully everything all right with you.
Aye, mate, recovering well from a wee incident a couple of weeks ago. We don't know where Andy is, ladies and gentlemen. I think he's still parking up his truck somewhere, or we don't know where he is. I spoke to him half an hour ago, but I'm sure he will join us in moments few. Also, our Jerry is having a family gathering this evening. We believe he's got his Brendan Rodgers pinny on, Paddy. He's got his Brendan Rodgers pinny on just with Jerry's face. I think they're available in the Celtic Superstore, and he's baking cakes tonight. And I believe our man from America, Randy Tim, is going to have a wee chat about him later on. There he's there.
Sorry, lads, I was in the ring, but I didn't even realise the time. I don't know where I was. Sorry, I'm late.
You'll have to learn to reverse that thing, Andy.
I know.
We don't want excuses, Andy. We want results.
Sorry, lads. Sorry.
Aye, so as I was saying, Jerry's baking cakes this evening for the family. And our Randy Tim is going to make an appearance later and give our Jerry a mention. So welcome to the Friday Focus Show on the Four Leaf Clover podcast. Just one other little podcast thing I need to sort of mention. Our podcast on Wednesday night was taken down. Andy, I believe there was a copyright infringement of our friends at the SPFL. Is that right?
Aye, very, very strange. Usually issues like that are a kind of UEFA thing, Champions League thing. They're really strict on their footage, but it's the first time I've really kind of seen it with the SPFL. So not only did it flag up as copyright, but they removed the whole pod off the platform. So going to look into maybe cutting that section in and getting it back up. We'll have a look at StreamYard in a library and see if we can publish it again and cut that section out and see how we go on.
Yeah, Andy's going to try and get the podcast back up, ladies and gentlemen, because if you missed it, we introduced our new correspondent from America, Randy Tim, and he went doing very, very well, Paddy, didn't he? He went doing well in the comments.
He went down a storm, especially with the ladies, I have to say now. he was very, very popular. He seemed to be more popular than any of us with his first appearance.
Just wait till they actually see what it looks like.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a nice wee show going on for you this evening, and we are going to start off as ever with
What's happening?
What's happening, indeed. So, quite a few things are happening in the Celtic world since we last seen you on Wednesday. The first thing that I've picked out for you this evening, gentlemen, is Hibernian have confirmed they have received 7,000 tickets for next Sunday's Scottish Cup quarter-final clash at Celtic Park. After initially receiving 2,667 briefs, the Leaf Club have now secured an extra 4,333 and are paying for the 7,000 tickets up front, so are financially liable if they do not sell out the whole entire away section. Rules in the Scottish Cup differ from the Scottish Premiership legislation, with away teams allowed for up to 20% of the home team's capacity in the oldest cup competition in football, and Hibs have taken advantage of this guideline. After negotiating with Celtic's hierarchy, Hibs bosses released a statement confirming the significant allocation. A club statement outlined, "We are delighted to give supporters a positive upgrade regarding our away allocation at Celtic Park for our Scottish Cup quarter-final fixture. As supporters are aware, we received the initial allocation, a number that was sold out within 5 days of going on sale. During the sales period, we remained in continued dialogue with Celtic requesting more tickets, and yesterday, Thursday the 27th of February, had a breakthrough." Now, Andy, we're going to get on to another allocation that has been agreed after this one, but for me, I think this is brilliant to see 7,000 Hibs fans going to be at Celtic Park for the quarter-final clash, mate. What's your thoughts on it?
Surprised at the number, to be honest with you. Usually, I know they're in a rich vein of form now, so obviously they're tickets that will be in high demand for Hibs. I think you obviously see big crowds at cup finals and stuff like that, but I wouldn't say they're the most. I mean, I've looked at Edinburgh derbies at Easter Road, and there's loads of empty seats, and it's like, well, if they can't sell it for a derby day, then they deserve 7,000 tickets. I think it's a wee bit much, to be honest with you. I've got to be honest. I'd rather see Celtic fans get a wee bit more than that. Maybe 2,500 or something would be 2,000-3,000 would be probably more appropriate. 7,000 is a bit much. I think there's a lot of Celtic fans missing out there that they go regularly to Celtic Park and go pay for their cup games and stuff like that, So I think it will add to the atmosphere. Obviously, we've not had that many probably opposition fans in the stadium since the Rotten Mob were there, so it will add to the atmosphere. But yeah, a wee bit kind of feel sorry for Celtic fans probably more than anything.
Do you think the Celtic fans would sell out that quarter-final clash anyway? And did you think it would be a full house for that?
Aye, I'd imagine so. Aye, Paddy's a better man to tell. He's actually a season ticket holder and he goes to all the games as well. Paddy probably be better asking that, answering that.
So Paddy, 7,000 tickets they've been given, and they've got to sell them, sort of thing. What's your thoughts on it? It's good that they sold at their initial allocation, and it looks like they are going to get the 7,000 fans. What's your thoughts on it, mate?
It is. I suppose Celtic are in a no-win situation here. I can absolutely take on board what Andy has said, but it is the rule when it comes to the cup competitions. They have the right to ask for 20% if they feel that they can sell them. Hibs are flying high at the minute. There's no question about that. They're on a great run. David Gray has them firing on all cylinders, playing good stuff, getting results, albeit last weekend with the help of Alan Muir. So listen, for me, it's good. It's a good thing in that, if there's nothing that we can do about it and Hibs sell the 7,000 tickets, it's going to create a fantastic atmosphere, and that's what you want. That's exactly what you want. You want the good times back again. You want the away fans in behaving themselves and providing noise and colour and sound and and supporting their team there. And it's for me, it's a positive thing because, as I've said before, it's completely out of Celtic's hands if they decide that they want to have a go at selling the 7,000 tickets. Again, it's a no-win situation for Celtic because if they don't sell them, they still have to pay. They'll have to pay for the tickets. So I would imagine Hibs must have done a bit of research, and they must have been in communication with their various supporters groups and stuff. So they must be fairly confident that they're going to be able to sell them. So it's less than 5,000 more. So I think the initial allocation they sold out within an hour and a half or something. So the demand for the tickets for Hibernian fans is clearly there. So they've exercised their right under the rules of the Scottish Cup to ask for the extra. And I personally think, yes, if it had been a sellout and Hibs had only taken a smaller amount of tickets, it would have been good for more Celtic fans to be in there. But I look at it as a positive thing, really, because at the end of the day, it will provide a bit of an atmosphere, and it's just good to see. It'll be good to see a greater crowd of away fans. You saw the travelling Munich fans at the Champions League game. It was brilliant to see. The colour and the noise that they make and the songs that they sing, the flags and stuff. So I personally think it's a good thing, and it'll already there's already a bit of an edge to this one now after what happened last weekend. I think Brendan and the team will be very, very keen to sort of show them who the boss is after what happened last Saturday. So for me, it sets it up lovely for an absolutely cracking quarter-final tie.
Aye, I'm with you, Paddy. I'm all for it, mate. It definitely adds to it, and the cup games are different for the league games as well. Both teams have a go at each other and that, and like you said, there's added spice now due to the VAR incident, which we will get into finally, because there's been little whispers coming at the SFA today, so we will get into that as well. So another game, Andy, that is allowing fans back into the stadium. It's a bit of a contentious oneness amongst fans. I would say the fans are sort of 50-50 in this one. Some are happy not to have them in the stadium. I think you're one of them, Andy. We've spoken about it on previous podcasts. But it has been announced that talks involving all parties, the March 16th meeting, will see away fans welcomed back in. The Rangers will then reciprocate in the post-match fixture at Ibrox. Celtic wrote, "We can confirm that following the previous SPFL determination from last season, and with necessary requirements being addressed, away supporters will be present at the next two Glasgow Derby matches this season at Celtic Park on March the 16th and at Ibrox. Allocations will be around 4% of saleable capacity at both stadia. Further ticket information will be provided in due course." The Ibrox club said the Rangers supporters will be able to attend our match with Celtic on March the 16th, with the two clubs agreeing for a reciprocal percentage of tickets to be allocated to away fans. Approximately 4% of saleable capacity at both stadia will be given to the visiting club, with everyone at Rangers looking forward to having the backing of supporters in the East End of Glasgow in just over a fortnight's time. The Rangers manager, the new interim Rangers manager, Barry Ferguson, said, "I've always said it's something that the fixture has missed. In an ideal situation, it'd be great if there were more. But the way it is, the way it's happened, the number of tickets we're getting, I'm just glad away supporters are allowed back in." Asked specifically about a return to the days of 7,500 away fans at either venue, Ferguson said, "At this moment in time, I'm just happy that the fans are back. In time, we'll see, but it's a start." Defender Robin Proper, he's not much a defender, but he's got down here, he's one. "It is beautiful that we have fans with us to cheer us on against Celtic." Celtic boss Brendan Rodgers is another man who is relishing the return and hoping that a return to the 7,500 allocations is just around the corner. He said it's a big part of the fixture, having been involved in it with the supporters. They're both when they're away and then obviously them being taken away. It does make a difference. It's great for the game. It's great for the spectacle of the game. And obviously, ultimately, for the supporters, they get their chance to see their team, which is great. So, Andy, it's looking like the game on the 16th, there's going to be 2,500 Rangers fans at Celtic Park. Now, I've heard your thoughts on it before, but there's probably people that haven't, that are watching tonight. What's your overall thoughts on it, mate? I mean, are you happy that they're coming back in for the atmosphere, or are you on the "I don't want them anywhere near our stadium" sort of thing? What are you thinking?
On the latter, mate, I don't think we need them. I think if you look back to that February match a couple of years ago, 3-0 at Celtic Park, it was all Celtic fans. One of the best atmospheres I think MD's ever heard at Celtic Park. It was absolutely buzzing and not a hunt to be seen in the stadium, apart from the referee and the players on the park. But I totally get that there could be a generation of fans going through supporting Celtic and not knowing what it's like to go to Ibrox and go and beat them and feel that atmosphere and, the stuff that we've all done, especially when it was like 7,000. You had the whole stand, 8,000. There's nothing better than going there and giving them a pumping and just watching them all disappear. But I don't think we need them. They're scum, absolute scum. I don't want to hear the bile that they sing. I don't want them near our stadium. I'm just wondering, see the net they put up for the European games, is that going to be in place for when they're there? Because that's probably a stipulation I would have with Celtic, because their fans can't be trusted not to throw stuff onto the park.
Yeah.
Towards our fans as well. So I think for the safety of our fans and their players, there should be a net put around them, so to prevent them from doing that, because that's the type of things you need to do, because they can't be trusted. They're just animals. I'm against that, but if they're going to do it, then fair dues. And I can see why and the only kind of upside to it, from my point of view, is that there's fans that have maybe not seen it, opposition fans in the stadium, that it might actually get to the point where it's the original allocation and you're getting a full stand or almost a full stand. Then I think it's good for them to experience that atmosphere as such with the kind of the intimidation, especially when you go to Ibrox, they try and intimidate you. But as I said, if you were to go to Ibrox and beat them, there's nothing better than watching them walk out green. There's nothing better. But as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to the game at Celtic Park on the 16th, it's just mere aim to suffer and see it with their own eyes that they're going to get absolutely pumped.
Aye, and Paddy, Brendan Rodgers, he did say again today, don't forget who started all this. This wasn't Celtic's issue. It wasn't us that started it. As Andy said, they were sick of watching us tying our scarves to their goalposts, wiping our noses on their corner flags, just ripping the absolute piss at them and partying in their stadium. They hated it. Now, Andy mentioned another thing there, and I believe that measures are going to be in place with netting and things like that. I think both clubs had to set a standard with Glasgow City Council, I believe, and the police and things like that to put safety measures in place. And I think that's why their ticket allocation was swiped for the first meeting between the two sides, was for those very reasons. They had kept their end of the bargain, so to speak. So, Paddy, 2,500 tickets for Celtic Park, it's looking like, with the option, if everybody behaves themselves, going back up to 7,500. What's your thoughts on the whole debacle from start to finish, my good man?
Well, it's a huge if, Scotty, if they behave themselves for me. And I, for one, would be more concerned about the away game. I haven't seen any confirmation yet, or any. I haven't seen any details. They were given very specific things that they needed to do to bring their stadium up to the level it required to take Celtic fans and keep them safe in that corner. And that's still, for me, that's still the worrying thing. You're very vulnerable in there in that corner. From both sides and above. And I haven't seen anything to say. I know that Celtic have spent quite a lot of money, and there's been quite a lot of work being done at the back of that stand there to make the entry and exit process easier. And as Andy says, there will be probably netting or something there. Celtic have done that, but I would just be more concerned about the Celtic fans going back to Ibrox. I would still have my concerns about that, because I haven't seen anything yet to show what, how are they going to protect us? And like, even at that, that there's been absolutely nothing. The silence from the league's deafening. We've had members of staff, players attacked. Physio had stitches and a head wound from being hit by a bottle. What are they going to do? What steps are Rangers going to do to satisfy us that that's not going to happen again? That's the thing that would worry me. Them coming to Celtic Park. I know this might sound as though I'm being hypocritical, where I was praising the fact that we're giving Hibs tickets fans, but with this particular fixture and this particular team, I would definitely be with Andy. Until they learn to behave themselves and can show and demonstrate that, and also to reciprocate that with no incidents in their stadium either, which I think they'll struggle to do again. I would just be very cautious, but it's a smallish allocation to see how it goes. I suppose it's like it's a test case, I suppose, to see if it will work or whatever. But I would still have my concerns about it. As I say, not so much about them coming to Celtic Park. I'm of an age now where, as I've said to you before, if I'm never back in Ibrox again, it'll never ever matter to me. But I can understand some of the younger generation that have never been to Ibrox. They want to go and experience that, and that's absolutely fine. But what I would like for them to do is to go to Ibrox and experience that safely, and not risk having an eye put out or get split by a bottle or whatever. So I think there's definitely, there's still a lot of work to do. I think it's maybe signs that there's progress being made. Again, where I agree 100% with Andy, but the longer this goes on, I saw something there recently where you run the risk of the league actually imposing something on you, and that's what can happen. And there's nothing to stop them from doing that. The league will have rules around allocations for away fans and stuff like that. I'm not entirely sure what they are, but I know there was talk recently of the league basically saying if Celtic and Rangers can't sort this out between themselves, we will impose something on them. The league will do it for them. So the last thing you want to do is be given a figure of tickets that you have to give them because the league say so. So I think both clubs have maybe got their heads together to say, look, with a bit of goodwill on both sides here, we can sort this out. I wouldn't say I'm happy about it, but listen, I suppose it is the sign of maybe there are better relations between the clubs and they maybe will try and work to some kind of accommodation. But I would still be very worried and very, very skeptical about us going there. I would like to see what steps they have put in place in terms of spending money on the stadium to make sure that the Celtic fans that are in that corner are going to be safe. And as I say, up until now, I've not seen any of that. But listen, it is what it is.
Aye, you're bang on, Paddy. It's definitely a test, given the 2,500. Do I think we'll ever get back to 7,500 fans? No. I think since that Edward goal, we've just seen they can't take it. And it's been 20 odd years now of complete, total and utter domination for Celtic, and it kills them. They hate seeing us partying in their stadium. We had to suffer it in the 90s, lads. Them doing the huddle in our stadium when they won the league and things like that, and the Hugh Dallas game. And there's been loads of games that I could talk about, that just have killed us over the years, but we've never ever, stooped to the levels that they're getting to. That it's actually, you can't take Waynes to the games anymore. It's getting that bad, especially the game at Ibrox, where they're penned in, they're getting bottled, they're getting coined. It's got to a stage now in a Scottish league game where we're having to put a net to our fans to protect them. This isn't Turkey, this isn't Cyprus, this isn't Poland, this is Scotland. Do you know what I mean? And it's got to the levels, which for me is disgusting, but it is what it is. I think the 5% is going to stand. I don't think it's ever going to go back to the days of what we remember. And there's just too much trouble now and far too much animosity. And it's because we're pumping them. Let's be honest, that's what it is. It's because we're absolutely blowing them out the water season after season.
Scotty, I think this game coming up at Celtic Park's going to be a nasty one, and I mean on the park, and I put it down to who's in charge of the players, because he was one that was always up for it, better wee man, and his team round about him, they'll be drumming into their players, and all you do is look at a game against Kelly during the week. All the vile songbook was out in that game. If you actually go back and listen to all the songs we're singing, it's back to the late 90s, early 2000s with all the shite they're singing, and it's down to who's in charge. It's down to the Brown Brogue Brigade that's come in the door. So I can see that's been I can see that's been a kind of a bit of a battle, and it's down to him that's in charge of him now.
Aye. As long as we play our football, lads, it's fine. Kick away and get your men sent off. The league will be done and dusted by then anyway, so don't worry about it. Everything will be tickety-boo. So moving on to another contentious thing that happened was last weekend. Obviously, Mr. Muir made his shocking decision, and today the SFA have actually, as far as I'm aware, have contacted Dundee United and let them know about their VAR decision, but I've still to get on the blower to Celtic, Michael Nicholson and Brendan Rodgers about what happened with Alan Muir. But there has been some sort of movement, and it's been found that Mr. Muir, his decision should have been overruled. Maida's goal in the 82nd minute was originally awarded by referee Stephen McLean and his assistant, only for VAR official Alan Muir to overrule the decision, claiming that Alistair Johnson's cross had gone out of play before reaching Maida. However, after reviewing the incident, the SFA's 5-member panel concluded by a 4-1 majority that the goal should have been given, and VAR was wrong to intervene. Shock, Rooney. The majority, 4-1 of the panel, deemed the on-field decision of the goal to be correct. They felt the factual VAR intervention for the ball being out of play was incorrect. One panel member felt VAR was correct to intervene, as they believed one of the angles showed the ball out of play. The ruling will only add to our frustration, as no conclusive footage was ever provided to show the ball had completely crossed the byline. Shock again. The decision cost us a crucial point, and it remains unclear this evening whether the SFA will take further action regarding the officials involved. However, it has came out that Alan Muir, the VAR official who made the call, has been left out of referee appointments for this weekend, raising further questions over his role in the controversy. While we sit 13 points clear at the top of the table, the ruling only reinforces concerns over the standard of officiating and the use of VAR in Scottish football. Andy, no shock, really. We knew that there wasn't going to be conclusive proof. We've seen all the TV angles on the day. There wasn't one that showed conclusive proof that that ball was 100% over the line. We can see it. I can see it sitting in Spain. Paddy can see it sitting in Ireland, and you can see it, sitting in Scotland, and I'm sure all the viewers can see it as well. Another shocking decision by Alan Muir, and he gets to go to Ibrox at the weekend and watch his team instead of officiating a game. I don't even know what to say anymore, mate. It's getting comical now.
That's, mate, and the thing is, it's taken them so long to come to this decision as well. What or even come out with a statement. We all knew where it was going to be because there was absolutely no proof that ball was completely over the line. The guy at the best view in the stadium was the linesman. He done a flag. He says the goal was good. So in order to overturn that, you've got to have a better view than him, and it didn't. And they'd no proof of that either. So. And a lot of people don't like to say cheating, but it is cheating. That's a deliberate act to stop another team progressing in the game. And it's down to bias, their own personal bias towards a certain team or for a certain team. He's got a week off. That's his punishment. He's got a week off. It's really poor. And the thing is, it puts VAR up into the air. It's like, why do we actually have it? If you've not got the proper equipment to use it fully, don't have it because it brings up situations like this where you're guessing or you're going with your own personal opinion. And we all know that VAR can be like that at times with certain situations. It does come down to somebody's opinion, like when the referee goes to a monitor to go and you have a look at it and see what you think. There's still no kind of facts involved there. It's still down to somebody's opinion, but for a ball to be out of line as a factual thing, you could have, it's all going to come down to money and expenses and all that, but you could do the thing like the Hawkeye thing, get the proper equipment into there. I think they've got it down south for goal line technology, aren't they? Is it down south or just in Europe?
Yeah.
Certainly at World Cups and stuff. So if you have to get a proper equipment to do it, then don't use it. It's no fit for purpose. It's half-arsed. It's Poundland fucking VAR. That's what it is. And this isn't going to be the only instant now. This is going to flag up quite a few times until they sort it out, as they say.
Without a conclusive image, VAR has no right to mess with an on-field decision. Blatant, ugly in the reference. It is, mate.
Exactly, aye. Yep.
It's, for me, Paddy, I've never heard this mentioned, but I was thinking about it myself, right? Can we not put a camera inside the goalposts? Do you know what I mean? They're on the line. Fit a camera inside it like a Hawkeye, like Andy said. It's on the fucking line. So put the Hawkeye in the side of fixed inside the side of the posts. The ball's never going to hit that, that area. If it does, it would take a minute to fix it, or put 2 or 3 cameras in a Hawkeye sort of system. I've never heard them mention that, mate, and I just think it'd be a brilliant idea, just so that they've got that 100% is it in, is it out sort of thing. But what do you make of this decision? Just to we'll ban him for a week, we'll take him off a game for the weekend, and the guy's got history, mate, and it needs to be called out. Simple as. This isn't the first time it's happened, especially involving Celtic with this one individual.
Yeah.
1 time's a mistake, 2 times, aye, okay. We're looking at 4 or 5 occasions now with this one guy, just involving Celtic. Something needs to be done.
And the thing is, Scott, like anybody who watched our podcast after the game last Saturday will see that exactly what I said has now been vindicated. And Kaiser is exactly right there. He backs me up 100%. The failure even just to follow their own rules, this is what nobody's drawing attention to. And I think this is where Celtic need to grow a set and challenge this, because it's the failure to follow the rules of the game, the rules of VAR. So there are 2 points here. The nearest camera that Scotland has is on the 18-yard line. There is no camera on the byline for VAR in Scotland. They have it in England. They have it abroad. But in Scotland, the nearest camera they have is on the 18-yard line. So if you've got a camera on the 18-yard line, how can you possibly show an image that's taken from the byline that a ball is completely out of play? You need an angle alongside, and you also need one from above looking down to state conclusively anything that happens on that line. So the next best thing without those things in Scotland is you have the linesman. So the linesman last Saturday clearly did not put up his flag, and as Brendan said, up until that point, he hadn't been exactly hesitant to put up his flag at other points during the game. He must have flagged us offside about 20 times, but he didn't put his flag up on that occasion. So this is what brings me back to the rules. So the rules in VAR in Scotland are very clear. The on-field decision is the one that's key. So the referee and the linesman concurred, didn't put his flag up, couldn't see, whatever, he didn't put his flag up. Stephen McLean can only go by that. That's all he can go by. He couldn't see himself either. So he gives the goal. That's what he has to do. The ball's in the net, he awards a goal. Now, VAR should not be getting involved unless they can show conclusive proof that there's been an error made. There's been a clear and obvious error made by the officials. And as we sit here tonight, Friday night, 6 days later, there's still nothing. We have not seen an angle. And as I said to you last week, guys, believe you me, if there had been an angle that Alan Muir saw and there was a picture of it, we would have saw that by Saturday tea time.
Aye.
Absolutely no doubt about it. So as I said to you on Saturday, I'll give you the exact same scenario again. Let's say, for argument's sake, that Stephen McLean hadn't awarded the goal. Say Stephen McLean had done this. No, we're not giving it for whatever reason. And then he went for a chat with his linesman. We're not giving it. That ball might have been out or whatever, which he may very well have done. If Stephen McLean hadn't have given that goal, there is not a hope in hell that we would have been awarded that goal after a VAR check, because they couldn't show it. So the on-field decision would have stood. The decision to disallow the goal would have stood because they couldn't prove it. So the fact that they didn't even apply their own rules to the situation, VAR got involved in something that they had no business getting involved in. Nobody could see, nobody could conclusively say. You had a panel of 4 people and only one of them thought there was a chance that the ball might have been out. Absolutely ridiculous. It's a ridiculous state of affairs. And again, it's this, this is when you have to start questioning. So who's the guy with the VAR? It's Alan Muir. This is the guy that when Ronnie Dyla was going for a treble in a semi-final against Inverness Cali, he couldn't see the most blatant handball probably ever seen at Hampden from less than 3 yards away. So you have to ask, guys, you know what I mean? The problem in Scotland, as I've always said before, is, some people are too caught up in their own bigotry or their own bias against their own team or for their own team. They can't even give an honest opinion on an incident. Like we talked very recently, Scotty, about the award of the non-award of the penalty from when Václav Černý was tangling with Liam Scales at Hampden, and you thought it was a penalty. I thought it probably, if it was a penalty, it would have been harsh. But we were honest enough to be able to say, look, guys, maybe we got away with one there. You know what I mean? But just because you're a Celtic man, You're not just going to let your bias say, no way, that wasn't a penalty or whatever. You know, we have the ability and we have the nous to look at an incident, you know, and give an honest opinion on it. You know what I mean? And we don't need to be biased about it. My honest opinion about the incident last Saturday was I couldn't tell. I have never seen. I didn't see I didn't see a picture. I didn't see a video clip. I didn't see a still. I saw nothing to show me that the ball was either in or out. The ball could have been in. It could have been out. But we didn't see anything. So what I'm saying is, for VAR to get involved there, he needed to have concrete evidence to say, well, listen, guys, this is why we're going to disallow the goal, because you can quite clearly see that the ball's out. But he didn't have that. So, no, not at all. Absolutely not at all. We thankfully are not like the other side. We have the ability to look at an incident and give you an honest opinion on it, whether that's good for us or bad for us. And that decision last Saturday will be up there with one of the worst that was ever made. And that's where I think you need to look at the official who's involved in it. He has previous with Celtic before, and I think it's time for Celtic to speak to them. They need to go to the SFA and ask for this guy to be removed from Celtic matches again. You know, this guy can't go on officiating Celtic matches when he's making high level mistakes like that. The mistake at Hampden all those years ago cost Ronnie Deila a treble.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So these are the things that cost us a point. And as somebody said to me earlier, how do we know that if we had got the equaliser from Maida last Sunday, how do we know that we might not have went on to win the game? So it may have cost us 3, but it certainly cost us 1. It was just a ridiculous decision, the entire process. But as I said to you, I've given you the 2 scenarios of Stephen McLean awarding the goal and Stephen McLean not awarding the goal. And if Stephen McLean had not awarded that goal, there is not a mission on this earth that we would have been given that goal on the VAR check, given that nobody could show whether it was in or out. We would not. There was enough doubt there to say, well, we don't know. So Stephen McLean's original decision would have stood. And that's what should have happened. His original on-field call should have stood.
You're bang on. You're absolutely bang on, mate. Thanks for that. Quite a few enjoyed your wee rant there, Paddy, in the comments as well. Stefano, welcome from Thailand, mate. It's good to see you. We're getting people from everywhere now. We're getting American, Thailand, New Zealand. They're coming from everywhere now to watch the 4 Leaf Clover podcast. So absolutely brilliant. Just a couple of things I wanted to mention there, Paddy, about your rant there was it affects European places as well. Now Hibs got 3 points in the game, you know, and the teams run about Hibs will be raging about it as well. You know, the Celtic had equalised, which we should have done. You know, we probably would have went on to win that game, or even got a point. So that's 2 off Hibs, and that's 2 for the rivals run about Hibs as well. It costs clubs that need that money hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of pounds. You know, these stupid decisions that these guys are making. And I don't know if MD's been keeping in touch with what's been happening on the continent, but Jose Mourinho's just been banned for 4 games for a sort of similar sort of thing. I think it was a Fenerbahce game. They had to bring in a foreign referee to referee their derby game over there. And Jose Mourinho, after the game, went into the referee's room and said, "Thank God you refereed that, because if that was a Turkish referee, we wouldn't have got that decision and this decision, that decision, and so on and so forth." And he said something about monkeys and stuff in his press conference, and he's ended up getting banned for 4 games because of it. But, I mean, we don't want to go down that route of bringing in foreign referees again. And, you know, we've had this chat before in Scottish football, but that's where it's going to get to again. You know, it's if these guys are so incompetent, what have we to do? What have we to do? It's just happening time and time and time again. And we're not talking about the football anymore. We're talking about VAR and referees, and that's what football. It's not what football is all about. For me, we should take the Norway, and I think it's Denmark as well. Just get shot at it, man. It's not fit for purpose. It's not fit for purpose. While you've got humans making decisions, you're always going to get errors. And I think that's been proven yet again.
And you know what, Scotty? I'll give you another one. I spoke to you both on Monday night in the group chat. I sat down on Monday night to watch the Leeds and Sheffield United game from England. Leeds and Sheffield, top of the table battle in the Championship. Both teams going for it. There's no VAR in that league. There is no VAR in the Championship in England. And you know what? It was one of the best games I'd watched all season long. It was just a typical old-fashioned Yorkshire derby between 2 teams absolutely going for it at the top of the table. listen, there was one or two throw-ins that went the wrong way. There was a couple of corner kicks that should have gone the other way. But you know what? That's football, and that was always football, and that was always part and parcel of the game. And so I would challenge anybody at the minute, any of our viewers that doesn't watch much of the championship. The next time you get a chance to watch a championship game, go and watch a wee championship game in England till you see the difference. You see a completely different game. No hassle whatsoever for the referee. No hassle for the linesman. Yep, there was a couple of contentious decisions here and there, but you know what? The referee gave what he thought was an honest decision and all the rest of it. The linesman put his flag up, whatever. There was a couple of them, but there's no VAR, and you just saw football back being played the way it's meant to be played. You know, with the referee, a bit of human error here and there. But as you said earlier, Scotty, the reason that VAR came in initially was because some of the bigger clubs were saying, listen, this one decision could cost us a point, which could cost us millions if we don't qualify for the Champions League. And that's fair enough. That's absolutely fair, because obviously some of these bigger clubs are investing millions and millions of pounds in their playing squad and their stadiums and stuff, and they want to try to have the best chance possible of getting success. So that's the reason it was brought in. It was brought in so that it would clear these things up. But in Scotland, it's bordering on farce. And to be quite honest, it should be embarrassment. It should be embarrassing for the SFA. It should be embarrassing for the SPFL that this is still happening. Now, you remember they had teething problems in England when it first started. There was teething problems there. Now there's very little problems with VAR down in England because the referees have got to grips with the situation. The clubs have got to grips with it, and they're handling it, and they're looking at the incidents a lot better than they did before. But you know what? While we are still blundering along with the likes of Stephen McLean, John Beaton, Wally Collum, Alan Muir, I can go on and on. While we're still blundering about with these idiots who are on the 1 week they're in the middle of the pitch with a whistle, the next week they're in the studio with the VAR. While that situation continues, you're just going to get more of the same. It's as simple as that, you know. So for me, it needs binned. The whole thing needs binned, and it needs to be upgraded to at least what they have in England. I'll take that as a compliment, Tommy. Yes, that's a compliment there. Yes, I'm the maida of the podcast. So listen, we need to do something about it. But I think for a starting point, Celtic certainly need to contact the SFA and say, this is the thing. So they've put this policy in place now where Willie Collum comes out now and explains the decisions. He comes out and explains the decisions. What happens in that case? What becomes of that? Is that just marked down as a poor decision from Al Muir? There has to be consequences there, surely. You know that
all Willie Collum's going to say is he made a mistake, and it's important we learn from this. I can guarantee you can just fucking see him saying it because, but improvements only being made.
Yeah.
The fact that Willie Collum is having to come on every fucking month and go through the same things hour and hour and hour shows you that further training isn't taking place.
Yeah.
But not only that, but the incompetence, the technology doesn't match the end result that we're aiming for.
Yeah.
So it just blows VAR out the water that there is absolutely no point in having it. But I totally agree. I think when you're talking about foreign referees and stuff like that, you would need to have a foreign referee for every single Scottish game. You couldn't just have a foreign referee for the Glasgow Derbies, you know, because then they would say, well, how come we're being left with these shitey refs and you are getting the top quality ones? So I think overall you would need to bring in better, and then that costs money as well. They're not going to do it for nothing, you know. So it all comes into cost, and we've got to look at the kind of structure that we're in when it comes to costy things and how much what you're getting for winning the Premier League, £3 million or something like that, you know, which is button. So we don't sell our game enough. So they get the ones at the top are mis-selling our product, if you like. You know, they don't do enough to bring in more funds. We get virtually hee-haw when it comes to, put it this way, right? For what Sky's investing into Scottish football, they can't even get names of teams right. See when they're putting up promoting games, they can't even get a name. They can't spell teams that their names are nothing. I think they've got Barry Ferguson and Bob Malcolm. Typing out the names of the teams. You know what I mean? And that's coming from me, a guy that can't get a conundrum right. You know what I mean?
Call it what you like, lads. Call it what you like, but I'm sure the viewers are all the same. We all have jobs, we all work, and we're all familiar with what goes on at work. If I make a mistake at work, a serious mistake at work, and I get pulled in by my manager, I don't get to make that mistake again, or I'm certainly not expected to make that mistake again. I'm expected to fix that and learn from it and not have it happen again. You know, for me, what I've witnessed since the turn of the year, the decisions are getting worse. Some of the VAR decisions are bordering on farce. You know, you saw the red card for the Motherwell player a couple of weeks ago. You know, just absolutely ridiculous. You know, the thing about VAR is, you know, what fries my head so much about it is when they take the time to go and look at the screen and then they still come up with the wrong decision. That's the one that fries my head most of all. If you've got the technology there and you're able to see the incident and you can see quite clearly what's happened, or you can maybe not see what's happened, and then you have to make your decision based on that, which is what should have happened last weekend. If Stephen McLean had been sent to that screen last week, we would have been awarded that goal. But Alan Muir knew not to send him to the screen because he didn't have anything to show him. He had nothing to show him to and that's why I'm saying to you, because Stephen McLean would have had to revert it back to his original decision, which was the on-field decision was to award the goal to Celtic. That's why he wasn't sent to the screen. Because if he had been sent to the screen, he'd have been looking at exactly the same angles as we had. And without any conclusive evidence or proof, he would have had to award it the goal. So people need to keep up.
Aye, let's hope Pierluigi Collina had a few nights out in Glasgow with Randy Tim back in the day, and we produce a wee bit better in the future. Let's see what happens there. So moving on, gentlemen, there has been a little transfer story has came out the past couple of days about this man, Alistair Johnson. There seems to be a little bit of interest, laughable interest for me, from down south. Transfer guru from The Athletic, David Ornstein, claims that Ipswich and Fulham have both expressed an interest in the 26-year-old in the January transfer window, and they'll revisit trying to bring the fullback down south at the end of the season. Should any bids arrive, Celtic will be in a commanding position at the negotiation table, with Johnson under contract in Glasgow's East End until June 2029, after penning a new deal back in November. Andy, Alistair Johnson, seems to be a bit of interest in him. I heard a bit about Maeda as well. The Bayern Munich players talking him up. Eric Dyer, I believe it was, that was down at Leicester, I believe, was talking him up and said that the Bayern Munich players were constantly going on about him. There is going to be interest in our players, obviously, but this is Brendan's probably last season at Celtic coming up in the summer. So I can't see him getting rid of Alistair Johnson, but it does seem to be gaining a little bit of traction, mate. Alistair Johnson, think he'll leave Celtic in the summer?
Firstly, I don't think Brendan is going to leave. I think he might stay on, mate. I think he might. I think he might extend his stay. And when it comes to Alistair Johnson and Maeda for that matter, you know, when you're putting yourself in the shop window like Champions League games against Bayern and you're putting on a show and you're showing your quality, then you're going to attract interest. I'm a bit surprised with the clubs, right enough, you know, when they're getting Fulham and Ipswich mentioned. I don't think that's going to tickle Alistair Johnson's thoughts into going down there to play for any of them. But saying that, Big Matt went to Brighton. I think the Whites worked out for him going down there. It hasn't exactly worked out great for him, is it? I think he was unfortunate getting that injury in his first game, and then he's just no kind of really done anything or a substance. I think AJ is here for a bit longer for us. I think he's got a big affection for the club. He's a guy that looks as if he's one of the ones that's addicted to winning and lifting trophies. And I think if he looks at the bigger picture and says, if I go to Ipswich or Fulham, I maybe win a game, but I'm not winning a trophy. You know, I'm not playing the Champions League. I'm not competing against big teams like Bayern and like say your Aston Villas and all that. Teams that are kind of high up in the Champions League, kind of, no, I want to say Villas in the league team, but certainly Bayern Munich has. I think we can offer Alistair a lot more when it comes to, don't get me wrong, money's a big thing, but when it comes to your football career, I think you're going to look back and say, what did I win and who did I play against and how did I do? It's not about necessarily just how many pennies have I got in the bank. You're still going to make very good money with Celtic. You can't turn your nose up at that. Obviously, you can't compete with wages in the Premiership, but I'm not convinced that Alistair would would be looking to move anywhere. And it'd need to be stupid money, because the guy's been absolutely fantastic for us for day one since he came in. Made his debut at Sneak Mountain and really impressed. And I think we've seen that in him. You know, he's been very good internationally as well, playing for Canada. So, and then we've got KT coming back as well at the end of the season. So we're going to have that on either side, you know, real quality fullbacks. And I think that will show, having diversity on each wing there, on each defensive side. I'm not convinced that Alistair Johnson will be looking to leave Celtic anytime soon. I certainly hope not.
Aye. Paddy, I mean, we're getting Alistair Johnson in on the left-hand side. For me, a very similar. Kieran Tierney's coming back in the summer. We spoke about even Joe Hart and Kasper Schmeichel just coming into Celtic and getting Celtic. And Alistair Johnson, he's one of the characters, you know, he's loving it. You can see the relationship he's built up with Nicholas Kuhn on that right-hand side. They're telepathic with each other. I think the chances of him leaving Celtic in the summer are very slim to none, but this story does seem to be gathering a bit of pace. And apparently they have been looking at him in January as well. What's your thoughts on it? Do you see him leaving Celtic in the summer?
Listen, Scott, I have absolutely no doubt that Celtic have probably fielded inquiries for him in January, in the window just gone past there. Probably no doubt about it. There's probably more than one player. But for me, the story about Fulham and Ipswich, you know, making a move for Alistair Johnson that's a bit like me saying I'm going to make a move for Penelope Cruz or Beyonce, with all due respect to them. You know what I mean? So the chances of that happening, you know what I mean, I would think are very, very slim. But I'll keep you posted if anything comes of it. If I get any messages back. But listen, no, Alistair Johnson is going nowhere, and he certainly isn't going to Fulham or Ipswich. The only place Alistair Johnson is going is up. It's as simple as that. You saw Dyson Maida's performance over the two legs against Real Madrid. Alistair Johnson was very similar, and don't think for 1 second that hasn't been noticed by the hierarchy at Bayern Munich. And these big teams talk to each other, you know what I mean? So listen, I would hate to see Alistair Johnson going. He's a very, very popular player. He's a very important player for us at the minute, the way he plays. And the one thing is for sure, if and when he ever decides to leave Celtic, we will get big money for Alistair Johnson. There's no question about that. A lot more than what Fulham or Ipswich would be prepared to pay. Alistair Johnson will go to a better league than or a better situation in that league. He better go to a better situation, for want of a better word. But listen, not in the short term. Alistair Johnson, for me, as I said to you the other night, is a future captain. He's a future captain of Celtic. There's no question about that. The guy has all the credentials, you know. And Brendan's not stupid when it comes to things like that. Brendan knows his squad. He knows his players. So he will have that. He will have that pathway already identified there. You know, there's one or two other players. Cameron Carter-Vickers is there. Austin Trusty's there. Alistair Johnson, Kasper Schmeichel's there. You know what I mean? There's a load of other players there with experience, and Brendan's building his team around these guys. You know, so Alistair's under contract for another number of years. He's going nowhere at the minute, and he certainly isn't going to Fulham or Ipswich.
You're bang on, mate. We've got nearly 200 people watching us, folks, at the minute. So if this is your first time joining us this evening on the Four Leaf Clover podcast, please hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel, folks, and like and comment. Please comment on the YouTube page as well, because we love to engage with you in our spare time as well. Myself, Andy and Paddy like to jump on the comments and have a wee chat with you there as well. So if this is your first time, I've seen a few new people in the comments this evening, so please hit that subscribe button. So Brendan Rodgers had his normal press conference today as well, gentlemen, and he spoke about a gentleman who is playing on the other side of Alistair Johnson at the minute. He's holding the jersey as well as Jeffrey Schlupp. I think he's been absolutely brilliant. And he was asked as well, you know, if he is looking to bring Schlupp in for the summer. So trusted to start in the Champions League knockout tie against Bayern Munich, the versatile left-sided player has impressed with his physicality, work rate and composure. With Schlupp's contract at Crystal Palace expiring this summer, speculation has begun over whether Celtic will move to sign him permanently on a free transfer. Brendan Rodgers, however, insists that discussion over Schlupp's future will take place later in the season. I'll have a chat with Jeffrey towards the latter part of the season, Brendan told Celtic TV. It was a case of him coming in and settling and getting to understand how we play. I think we can all see that he has Premier League physicality and quality. He's a guy that's a top professional. That's why he's been in over a decade in the Premier League, because you have to look after yourself. You've got to have the right qualities, not only as a player, but as a person. So we knew what we were bringing in. I'm really happy for him because he's settled into the group really well now. And now he has a feel for how he plays and what his role is, what their role is. It gives us two really strong players to finish the season in that position. So Andy, Jeffrey Schlupp, we have spoken about him before, but he was mentioned today in Brendan's press conference. Is he a player you'd like to see come in permanently in the summer?
Aye, definitely. I don't see why no. Maybe money could be a stumbling block when it comes to wages. It depends how much a drap he's willing to take. Because even when he takes a trap, if he was to even take half of it he's on now, which is quite a big kind of drop, he'd still be one of the biggest earners at Celtic. So, but I think what's quite noticeable, apart from his talent, is his physicality, and I think we've missed that in that area in particular. So obviously we get KT coming in the summer, but I think as a backup, and we've spoke many times about KT, he's not going to play every single game. And I think he's a really good backup. And we've also spoke about his versatility as well when it comes to positions. You know, he can cover in various positions. So as much as he would be coming in as a backup to KT, he could also back us up in midfield and other certain areas in the park. But I've been impressed with him. I think he's done well. And to be honest with you, I wasn't too excited when he did come in because I didn't know a lot about him. And he'd been out the picture for a while as well when it comes to playing games. But I think he's done really well. You know, I think he'll be impressed as well that he's coming to a place with 60,000 fans that are, you know, cheering on the team. He's playing in Champions League games. He's winning cups. He's winning leagues, you know. So for a guy that's not necessarily been round that his whole career winning trophies, I think Celtic are an attractive option for him. And I think basically we come down to finances and wages. That to me would be the only stumbling block.
Aye, yeah, you're bang on, mate. You're absolutely bang on, Paddy. I know you're a big fan of him as well, mate. What you thinking? Get him in the summer?
Absolutely, Scotty. You know, when you're looking at forward planning, you know, if you're looking at next season, it looks to me as though Greg Taylor is not going to sign his contract. So we need to sort of strengthen that area on the left side. So you could be looking at Kieran Tierney and Jeffrey Schlupp as your left back options. And Alistair Johnson and Anthony Ralston at the right hand side. So, listen, for me, it should be a no brainer the way the guy has played so far. You know, I still maintain he's still a ways away from being totally fully match fit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he has already shown, you know, his touch, you know, his influence. You know, he's so cool, calm, and collected on the ball. He's already, you know, showing signs of having a good link up with whether it be Jota on the left or Dyson Maida on the left. You know, he's just a quality player. And as Brendan says, at 31, 32 years of age, for a guy that's played his career in the Premiership in England, you don't become a bad player just because you hit 31 or 32. You know, the guy's top quality. You don't get to play in that league for that length of time. You know, unless you know what you're about. As Brendan says, you have to be a certain caliber of player and you have to be a certain caliber of person to be able to operate in that league. For me, again, as Andy said, you have to look at it the other way. Are we an attractive proposition for him? Of course we are. You know, the guy, I think he won one medal. You know, he's won the league championship when he was with Leicester. But he stands to win 2 medals now between now and the end of the season. You know, and he's already been in the Champions League. He's played against the likes of Bayern Munich, and you know, we'll hopefully be back in that arena again next season again. So, you know, for Jeffrey Schlupp already, you know, people think about the money he's earning, but you know, these guys are well aware of what's on offer down in England. But Jeffrey Schlupp will already know from talking to his agent about what's on the table. And I would hazard a good guess that at the minute the money that he's on currently at Crystal Palace, He won't be on that money in his next contract in the Premier League in England, nowhere near it. So he probably will come very close to our wage structure, and if a deal can be agreed with him, as I said, that, look at what we can give him in the last, and probably what the last couple of years of his career. Why not finish your career at a club like Celtic? 2 more years Champions League football, 2 more years of competing in the league, the cup, the League Cup, and getting to the latter stages and possibly winning trebles and stuff like that. So we're a fantastic proposition for Jeffrey Schlupp, as well as he is for ourselves. So yeah, for me, definitely no doubt about it. He's a good, steady player. And the other thing about him is that he can play in more than one position. I've seen him playing as a sort of a defensive link man in the midfield as well. And when the time comes, he's not shy about putting in a tackle or providing a bit of dig from the middle of the field. So he not only could be a very good left back option for us, he could be a very versatile option for us as well, anywhere really along the back four. So he's a quality player, no doubt about it.
Yes, he's not going to have a more attractive opportunity in the summer than coming to the famous Glasgow Celtic, that's for sure. So we're moving on now, lads, to a segment we've not done for a while. He's actually been sitting in our StreamYard for about 3 weeks now, resting up, waiting for us to find a gap to put him in, and we're going to do it now. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of our boys from the past. We've not done this segment for a little while, and tonight he was mentioned a few times. We need this type of player a lot of people are crying out for, and it is this evening, Big Victor Wanyama. What a player Big Victor was. I was quite surprised when I was researching this back, gentlemen, about the honours that he won at Celtic, but unbelievably, we'll get into that. So his full name is Victor Mugabe Wanyama. Believe it or not, that is his name. I'll just take that off for a second while I tell you this. I was lucky enough about 5-6 years ago to interview Victor, and I got in touch with him through various channels and things like that, and he sent me his email address, and his email address actually has Mugabe in his email address. I'll obviously not give his email address out, but I was kind of thinking, is this guy into Mugabe, the dictator and all that? Unbeknown to me, that was his middle name. So aye, unbelievably, Victor Mugabe Wanyama, aka Victor Wanyama, born on the 25th of June 1991 in Nairobi, Kenya. We signed him on the 30th of June 2011 from Belgium for £900,000, unbelievably. What a bargain buy that was. And he left for Southampton on the 11th of July 2013. So he was only at Celtic for 2 years. It seems a lot longer than that. And we only got 12.5 million for him. He was a defensive midfielder or a centre half. He made his debut in Celtic 0, Wolves 2 in a pre-season friendly on the 27th of July 2011. He made his competitive debut against St Johnstone in the league. We shockingly lost 1-0 at Celtic Park on the 21st of August 2011. His squad number, as we all know, was the legendary number 67, and he was a Kenyan international with 64 caps and 7 goals. He did say, "What I've experienced there, you can't have that anywhere. You need to be at a place like Celtic Park to experience nights like that." He said that in 2022. So he arrived at Celtic as an unknown commodity. The first team had been lumbering in the past seasons from bringing in men of steel who were supposed to give the side some gravitas and instill some fear into the opposition rather than fearing ourselves. Yet recent past acquisitions, including Gravison and Nastorovic, had achieved little and proved nothing. Not since Baldy and Mialbi under Martin O'Neill did the Celtic first team have a player who could provide, that strong, imposing style that would give the first team at Celtic an edge. Players like Scott Brown could only do this to an extent. Wanyama was to change this and become a bit of a sensation. Ironically, across many teams in Europe, Sides and coaches were choosing to play players in the opposite direction, such as Barcelona, who had a team in small in height but not in stature. But you can't go wrong with having strength in your side. Hitting the ground running, Wanyama came into the Celtic squad, which was already overburdened with midfielders, with some wondering why he was bought. Joe Ledley was the primary defensive midfielder, and so Wanyama was maybe a squad player. The first team was underperforming in his early days, and this gave room for Wanyama to enter the fray. However, the arrival of the big burly chap was met with little fanfare. Not exactly widely known, he was hoped to add some defensive steel into the midfield that Celtic otherwise lacked. Despite his supposed youthful age, he set about his role with some gusto and settled in fast enough. And we'd found out why we'd bagged such a strong player. It was a welcome surprise. Opinions changed fast, and after a succession of death performances, it made him a popular figure amongst the Celtic support. Strong, commanding and controlled, he made his name as a cert in the first team list and became an increasing favourite amongst our support. Notably, due to the continuing woes of the central defence and the continuing injury issues. Wanyama was forced to move from the holding midfield berth to centre half. Not his best role, but he more than adequately made the move when needed. But in December 2011, he scored his first goal. Remember that screamer against Hearts, lads? Which set out the victory and got the first team out of jail. From then on in, there was nobody who was questioning his place in this side. From early on, he commandeered the midfield and gave the rest of the players space to freely move and play their own game. Strong in the tackles, he was wholly committed and gave his all. Generally an intelligent player, he'd be able to make passes to put players through without needless gambles. In attack, he was difficult to defend against at set pieces due to his frame, and he was able to head a shot as hard as some others could kick them. He was also unafraid to put his laces through the ball from long range, and with his strength he had a powerful shot. Not always the most accurate, but more often than not, he'd grab a number of goals with his thunderous shot. He had an iron head as well, able to bullet headers in with ease, and he scored more than a few like this. With his strong defensive abilities on occasion, he'd also drop back into the centre-half positions and play the game from there. And it was a measure of his ability that he was able to slot in there with ease. His best role was that defensive holding midfielder role, which allowed a greater range of his skills to come to the fore and allowed him to push forward as well, so threatening the opposition's defence as much as throttling their attack in midfield. As a measure of his value, he was awarded the SPL Young Player of the Year for 2012-13. If there was a recurring problem, it was despite his good points, he was very much still a rough diamond. Daft, needless challenges led to needless fouls, loss of possession and yellow cards, and the first team even lost him from first team matches due to his needless suspensions. On occasion, his habit to try to be a Beckenbauer led to counter-possession by the opposition and lost goals. A boot up the pitch is unsophisticated, but sometimes just do it and it can be discussed later. So his honours with Celtic, gents. He won 2 league titles, 2011-2012 and the 2012-2013 season, and also the Scottish Cup in 2013. Some quotes. I went on to play for Celtic again before I want to play for Celtic again before I finish, sorry. I have unfinished business there. I love that club. We really believed that we could achieve anything there, and we did. We beat Barcelona 2-1. Alistair Johnson. Victor is one who has definitely been in my ear about it. He had glowing reviews for the club. He was one of the ones who said to me, look, if you get an opportunity and something comes up at Celtic, you have to take it. Vic says it's the biggest club he's ever played for, and he's played for some big clubs in Spurs and Southampton. So that was a pretty glowing recommendation. I got a glowing review from Victor, And I've done a lot of my own research. Victor has done a lot of research for me as well. So to be fair, he's the best agent Celtic could have. And finally, the feeling I got after the goal against Barcelona was just unbelievable. I've never felt anything like it in my life. It was better than sex. Your Randy Tim will maybe have something to say about that later. We didn't celebrate the win in any particular way. I drank an orange juice. That was quite enough. Wanyama to the Belgian newspaper after his 2-1 victory versus Barcelona. He came away with some comments, didn't he? I made the right decision to join Celtic. They're a family club where I can develop in the best way. I'm happy at Celtic, Victor said in 2012. And finally, my biggest influence was the gaffer, Neil Lennon. He drove me to have more hunger and desire and to never give up. Andy, what was your memories of our Big Vic?
I don't have any memories, but I do now. What basically his first game, an absolute belter of a goal. You mentioned it actually, and when you were reading that out there, his first game for Celtic at Hearts at Celtic Park. Just it was outside the box and a right fit shot right into the top corner. He did have a mistake in him. He did have a bit of a clumsiness about him as well, but I think Victor was an absolute unit. And everybody remembers that goal against Barcelona. That's what he's going to be remembered for, is that opening goal against Barca. The whole stadium just went absolutely ballistic. And incidentally, you look back on that goal and every single player runs to him. He runs behind the goal, and every single outfield player on the park runs behind the goal to celebrate with him, apart from the goalkeeper, obviously. But just amazing, that particular game. I think we have missed that physicality in the middle of the park at times. We've spoken about it many times, that we could be doing with a player like that. And somebody actually mentioned that Schlupp could maybe fall in there on that in that position, because he's obviously not as big as Wanyama or Balde, but he's certainly got physical presence about him. So Wanyama was a fantastic player. Didn't realise it was only 2 years. He was there 2 seasons, so very successful time for him as well. Left to go to Southampton for 12.5 million, so, and ended up at Spurs as well, didn't he? And then we done it. Did he go straight to Canada for Spurs?
I think so, aye.
And then that was him. He was kind of done after that, wasn't he? Nobody really kind of knew about him after that. But I fond memories of Big Vic. I remember. Was it on Instagram or something like that? He used to put up mad things like, I like spaghetti. Now, just mad comments like that, and it was a bit mental.
Yeah, he certainly was, mate. He certainly was. I think I interviewed him, Andy, in his last season at Tottenham, if I remember right. And I was talking him then coming back to Celtic because he wasn't getting a game for them. And it's, if you type in on Google Scott Alcroft and Victor Wanyama, the interview should come up. And I think he did say that was then that he did say that he was wanting to come back to Celtic, and the papers in Scotland picked it up for my interview with him, and they put it on in the papers, and Victor's coming back. That's what it all sort of stemmed from, was that wee interview that I done with him. Mm-hmm. And I think that was probably the only time or chance that we had him coming back, Paddy. It would have been a good time for him to come back then, when he wasn't getting that game for Spurs, but it didn't sort of come to fruition. But what's your memories, Big Victor, pal?
Oh, he was quality, Scotty. No doubt about that. Like, I will admittedly, I knew nothing about the guy. I never heard tell of him before when we signed him. And again, sometimes when you only pay 900,000 for a player, sometimes people look down. He didn't cost 10 million or 6 million or whatever. But he was absolutely quality. But it was the guy's physicality and his build. When you remember, like we had guys like Van Dijk in the team at that time. There was a good physicality to us, and I think Neil Lennon loved him because I think Neil Lennon saw a lot of himself in Victor Wanyama. He was like Neil Lennon, but he could run. Big physical guy, but capable of playing football as well. Capable of mixing it when he needed to. But when he was able to do that, but the one thing I will say to him is exactly as Andy said. Like his debut springs to mind. Like, his first goal against Hearts. that just summed them up, that game. You know, we were sort of struggling. We were behind Rangers in the league at the time, and we were trying to peg them back. And Hearts had came to Celtic Park and put up a very dogged performance, and we were struggling to break them down. But sort of like 15 minutes to go, Big Vic picks the ball up 25 yards out, and just as nonchalant as you like, no backlift, whatever, just an unbelievable shot right up into the top left-hand corner, just a brilliant goal. But then, literally, in stoppage time, he gives away a penalty and handles the ball in the box. And so we actually concede a penalty, literally, in the last kick of the ball. And it was a guy called Egert Jonsson for Hearts, stepped up to take the kick. And big Fraser Foster made a brilliant save. And the first player to go to him was big Wanyama. And you can see him, you know, just so you've got me out of jail there, buddy. You know, so that was Big Vic. That was him. You know, obviously he'll be remembered for, you know, he'll be remembered for his goal against Barcelona. And not only his goal, his performance that night. You know, he was playing against probably the best club side in the world, arguably maybe the best club side ever at that stage. You know what I mean? He was playing against top quality players, and the big man just, you know, he just stood out a mile. You know, it was a defensive performance from us that night, as we all can remember. But Big Vic was at the centre of it. And you know yourself, we've said it before about these big games. You know, especially the big European games. You can have all the play and you can have the possession and the crowd can be going, but you know, you need to do something with that. And goals change matches in these big games, and that's exactly what he done. He got us off the mark with a header. And again, the noise at Celtic Park that night, I think even the Barcelona players were a bit sort of unnerved by the whole thing. The stadium just went completely bonkers, and you could see one or two of the Barcelona players looking at each other as if to say, "What the hell's going on here?" You know what I mean? So he was a quality player. What I liked about him was he was very, very strong in the ball, Scott. There was nobody pushing him off the ball, or nobody, you know, he wasn't bullied in possession. The big man just strolled about in the middle of the field, and he used his big frame and his big physique, you know, and just the size of the guy. He was such an imposing figure. The thing I liked about him really was he had the wherewithal to know that he might not have been the best footballer in the world in terms of, you know, being a Franz Beckenbauer or Johan Cruyff, but his style of play and his physicality allowed him to dominate the ball, and then he gave the ball to the players that could play, and that's what he did. You know, he allowed the other players to go and express themselves. So I just caught the tail end of that one there. Sorry, guys. No, he was a big legend for me. Again, another player that for me just didn't stay long enough. You know, the big guy should have done himself a favour and signed a 5-year deal with Celtic and stayed for a year or two. You know, his career kind of drifted when he went to Spurs, and he was very, very injury prone with Spurs, and I think injury sort of curtailed, you know, his Spurs career. He just couldn't stay fit, and you know, anytime he was fit, you know, he only got substitute appearances, and then he was hurt again, and so I think injury sort of derailed him, and then he ended up going away to Canada. So listen, it was a bit of a waste, because you know, if he had stayed with Celtic another couple of years, he would have had more medals and stuff like that there. But no, absolutely a big solid player. And you know what? If we could turn back the time, you know, and stick Big Victor in there in the middle there just now, it's exactly what we're maybe needing in some of the bigger games. You know, big physical presence just to sit in front of the back four would be ideal. But no, I liked him. Good big player. He never let us down. You know, he played the game with a smile on his face as well. You know, and again, another guy who didn't really, maybe didn't know an awful lot about Celtic when he first arrived, but he was one of these players who got the club very, very quickly. And you can see that when he was talking to Alistair Johnson about, you know, the possibility of AJ coming to Celtic. Big Victor was straight in there. You know, if you get a chance to go to Celtic, you must go there. You must go there and experience that. So, if nothing else, we'll thank him for that.
Aye, let's hope Big Victor was it with Randy Timmett Victorias as well, and then putting it about, and we can maybe see a few more Victor Wanyamas and kicking about Glasgow in the next sort of 10, 15 year coming to Celtic. That'd be nice. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was your boys from the past, and it's the moment you've all been waiting for. We will go over to our esteemed American correspondent, Randy Tim, who's going to go over this weekend's SPFL fixtures. Randy, it's over to you.
Thank you, Scotty, and a very good evening to you, Patty and Andy, and all the viewers. I hear Jerry is busy filling his face with cake and candy pies tonight. Okay, folks, let's get down to the business of the Scotch Premiership fixtures this weekend. Double DFC take on the Saints of Johnstone at the Dens Park. The Staggers of the County welcome the Super Soccer Squirrels to Ding Dong. The Super Soccer Squirrels will be looking to bounce back after a quite embarrassing defeat to the Sad Bear 69ers at the Rugby Arena. I think there was some halftime handshakes going on there. The Sad Bear 69ers take on the Lanarkshire Steelers at the Hun Depot Det Dome Arena. Can the Steelers upset what is sure to be a staunch brogue-wearing home crowd? The Paisley Panda guys welcome the sensational Celtics to the Panda enclosure. The Celtics will be looking to collect all 3 victory points and continue to remain miles ahead in the league. On Sunday, it's an early kickoff as the Edinburgh Hibernators welcome their city rivals Fart of Midlothian to the Easter Egg Arena. The Hibernators are in good form, so this should be an interesting battle. And also on Sunday, the Northeast Sheep Shearers welcome Dubai United to the Wolfpack venue. The Arabs have had a good season so far under Coach Hoodwink. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's all from me for this week. Remember to like the 4-Leaf Clover podcast and subscribe. It helps the lads out. Over to you, Scotty.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Andy.
What a guy, what a guy. So, yes, as Randy alluded to there, Andy, the SPFL fixtures for this weekend are as follows. Dundee are at home to St Johnstone. The Rangers are at home to Motherwell. Ross County are at home to Kilmarnock. And we are away to St Mirren. Remember, it's a 5:30 kickoff tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be here with the post-match show straight after the game. On Sunday, it's the Edinburgh Derby, Hibs versus Hearts, and then Aberdeen are at home to Dundee United. So before we have a quick preview of the St Mirren game, ladies and gentlemen, let's just have a wee look at the SPFL Premiership table as it stands. As you can see, Celtic are 13 points clear at the top of the table. Our rivals tomorrow night, St Mirren, are sitting in 7th place. I think he's punching above his weight at St Mirren. And they've been sort of top 6 the past 2 seasons. I think this is the 3rd season in a row he's trying to get them in there. Stephen Robinson, he's done a very, very good job there, to be fair. So I don't think he's going to get much change out of us tomorrow night. Hibs, Dundee United sort of flying. Hearts as well. Aberdeen a bit of free fall, and hopefully along with the Rangers as well. So St Mirren could be getting into that top 6 position. Andy, how do you see tomorrow going? I think it's only going to be Bernardo that's missing and James Forrest, I believe, going off Brendan's press conference today. Greg Taylor back in the squad, but I don't expect him to displace Schlupp, who's been brilliant. What's your starting 11, mate, and what's your prediction for the game tomorrow?
I think Brendan, I'm not too sure if he's going to go with either or Maida up front. I really can't make my mind up, just because of St Mirren's physical presence, certainly their defenders. So I'm not 100% sure on the front line, but I think, it's important that we play our strongest possible lineup. So that would be Maida up front, but I'm just a bit unsure if he is going to go down that route or not. I can't read it at all. I don't know what he's going to do there up front. I think it might be a wee bit tricky. I expect us to come through it, possibly win about 3-1. But they can. We're usually successful when we go to Paisley, when we go to the Paisley Panda guys to their Panda enclosure. So I'm expecting I'll go with 3-1. Could get tricky, but I'm expecting Celtic to kind of put on a half decent show.
Yeah, Paddy, are you with Andy? Do you expect to see Adamida come back into the team for a bit of physicality, because we've seen it in the past with St Mirren. They're a very physical team. I think another thing that Brendan mentioned today in his press conference is that the pitch is really bad there at the minute as well, and we're going to have to try and adapt to that. So it's not going to be the sort of fast-flowing, free-flowing football that we're used to from Celtic. We're maybe going to have to change our own game up a wee bit at St Mirren tomorrow. What's your starting 11, mate, and what's your prediction for the result?
For me, Scotty, that's the only area of doubt for me, and it may require Adamida at some stage. I'm not sure whether that's from the start. I would be tempted to go with the team that started again the other night. I think you play your strongest team, and for me, the team needs to be Casper and goals, back four of Alistair Johnson, Austin Trusty, Cameron Carter-Vickers, and Jeffrey Schlupp. My midfield three are going to be Callum McGregor, Rio Hutate, and Arne Engels, with your front three of Nicholas Kuhn, Jota, and Maida through the middle. That's the one I would go for. He may decide to go for maybe more physical, because they are a big physical side. They've got two big guys up front that put themselves about and cause a lot of problems. But listen, again, we've said it all season long. It's about ourselves. It's about what we do. It's not about St Mirren. It's about what we do. And if we get the ball down and play and reach the levels of intensity and press that we've done this season, we'll have too much for St Mirren. It's as simple as that. We're at the stage of the season now where we're looking at probably another 4 or 5 wins. It's going to be enough to clinch the championship. So it's just a matter of just ticking the games off one by one and getting down the road again. So that's what the players will be aiming for again tomorrow, to go out and get the job done. And I just see us being too strong. St Mirren are going well. They've one or two dangerous players, but I still think we should have too much for them. So I'm going to go for 3-0 Celtic. I'm going to go for a 3-0 away win.
Yeah, what did you say, Andy? 2-1, did you say? Or
3-1 Celtic I went for. What about you, Scotty? What you think?
I think we're just going to be dominant, man. Completely dominant. I think St Mirren will score, though, because they are a physical side. I think Trusty looks a bit fucking dodgy the past few weeks, lads. I've got to say it. I think there's a wee confidence issue there with him at the minute. So I don't think Casper had a good game either the other night. There was a couple of dodgy moments for him, and I know he's been brilliant all season, but I don't know. I think we'll concede one. I'm going to go for 4-1 Celtic. I think we'll get the 4 and we'll put on a bit of a relentless show. I think he's going to start Ida, just for the physicality in the pitch, and try and get us up the pitch a bit more with the state of their pitch. So I think Maida will get to the left. I think Jota will be on the bench, and I think he'll start with Adamida, but barring that, same as normal.
I think we need to watch set pieces, Scotty, with St Mirren. Particularly we can be weak in these situations, and they're quite strong there. As we spoke about, a big physical team. So that would be a kind of threat in the game, would be set pieces.
That's my thought process with bringing Ida in, mate. Just pick it for the defensive side of things as well, for the set pieces, where I think we're going to be.
By the way, Scotty, there's some really good games on this weekend as well. When you look at the Aberdeen Dundee United, and particularly Hibs v Hearts at the Egg Dome, whatever it's called, Easter Egg Dome. Hibs particularly kind of really upped their game and consider where they were at the start of the season. Throw Hearts in there as well. The two of them were away down there. So they've done well to get back up to where they are. And it looks, when you look at the league, it's the country's strongest teams that are kind of up near the top. So you want your Dundee Uniteds and Aberdeens and Hibs and Hearts to be strong, because it's only going to push us on as well. As much as we're Celtic fans, we want the league to be at least semi-competitive. It's certainly, if you take Celtic out of the league, then it is a very competitive league.
Yeah, I did say that on Wednesday night, mate.
Yeah.
It's a really cracking league we've got when you look at the teams below. Obviously the gap between us and the rest is massive, but it's a very, very competitive league, and we do get a hard time for especially the BAMs down the road. But it's starting to become a very, very competitive league, and Hibs have made a good signing with the boy McGrath, Aberdeen, and they look like they might be a decent wee side next season. So if we can get a stronger Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen all the rest of it. It can only make Celtic stronger, and that's exactly what we want. We want the product to be better than what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's us this evening for your Friday Focus show. We will be back tomorrow for the post-match show. I don't know if Jerry will still be like a bus boss sitting on the couch after all the cakes he's been eating tonight, but me, Andy and Paddy will certainly be with you after the game anyway, and hopefully our Alec Baldwin as well. Thank you so much for joining us. That's been good crack tonight. Thanks for all your comments as ever. No,
Sorry, Scott, I just want to say something before we close the show off. Oldest lassie Louisa's 23 today, so happy birthday to her. And the youngest, Katie, is 12 tomorrow, so happy birthday to her as well.
Happy birthday, ladies. Happy birthday. Yes, Plunge and Michelle, no conundrum tonight. We've been very, very busy this week with work and stuff. As you know, we work full time, and it's very difficult to get the sort of the content out for you, when we're as busy as we are. But we do our best, and that's the best that we could do for you this evening. So we'll see you tomorrow after the game. Thank you so much for everything. Loads of happy birthdays there for your girls, Andy, as well.
Thank you.
And that's us. We'll see you tomorrow after the game. Cheers.
Well, guys.
Okay, well.